Rome, Mr. Manchester United himself. It had to happen. Like, I had to bring you on my channel so we can talk about the football. Not so much club football because we've got the whole season to do that, but most certainly we have to talk about our country's performance in last night's quarterfinals defeat at the hands of the USA yet again. How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I mean, there is no Arsenal without Manchester United, so it has to happen, right? It must have happened one way or the other. So I'm happy that I'm here. Happy to have this conversation with you. Not so much so happy about the game last night, but we have a lot to get off our chest. So let's have it.
How are you feeling though? As it all like soaked in? What were your expectations going into the Gold Cup? Did you think that we could go all the way? Was it a semi-finals vibe, or how were you feeling?
I wanted to win it, especially knowing that we went so close in the last two Gold Cup semifinals, finals. I went in into this competition thinking we're going to win it, and then looking around you with the teams around you, you could tell that USA being a depleted team, Mexico not looking too well, I also have a depleted team, and every other Honduras as well, a depleted team. We needed to go into that competition with the intention to win it, and the fans came and watched with the zest and the enthusiasm of wanting to win this competition. So it was very, very disappointed that we went out in the manner in which we did yesterday to the team in which we did yesterday, and so it was really bad. You and I were on the stream together, and I was upset. I was pissed. And then, waking up this morning, it felt the same way. It wasn't until I got the news about Varane and Manchester United that kind of brightened my day a little bit. So it's kind of like a bittersweet type of day for me so far. Uh, but the results yesterday just broke me.
What do you think went wrong against the United States yesterday?
It
That
was
was
fine
a
margins, wasn't
marginal
it? And
defeat against the USA last night. As I was saying in the live stream, that I think it might come down to just the fine margins, and unfortunately, it did do that, and it didn't work in our favor. So what do you think went wrong for us last night?
you're right. It was definitely fine margins. Both teams are going at it, especially in the second half. You can see that, you know, uh, the game opened up a little bit. At first, it was a little bit cautious, but I do think what cost us the game wasn't necessarily the players on the field, even though we had chances and we could have scored a few of those chances. I think what caused us was the decision making on the bench from the coaching staff. Um, More specifically, the decisions from the coach. Now, the starting lineup, I didn't have much objections to. I would prefer to see Andre Gray start and Corey Burke be on the flank and Blair Turgott, not start. But, those decisions that you make, you have to stick to it. But the decisions within the game, the in-game management, I like to call it the Oligona social management, was lacking because Oligona social lacked the in-game management to make substitutions right at the right time, and so does Tapa Whitmore. It was absolutely astronomically stupid to have man like Blair Turgott play for 75 minutes, not doing anything, while we have so many players options on the bench that could come on and with fresh legs to make a change in the game. So I do think the margin that made us lose that game was the coaching staff.
Interesting. I'll pick up on your Andre Gray comment. You wanting to include Andre Gray in your starting 11. Why is that? And I'm asking purely based off Andre's recent performance. Because for me, I know, Shamar Nicholson, for example, he does put himself in good positions, but unfortunately, his finishing is a part of his game that he needs to work on. He's not as clinical as he should be. But I think if you're going into the quarterfinals, then you would select the players that have been finding the back of the net. And those players would have been Nicholson, Burke, Flemings, and Bobby Reed. So why would you have gone for Andre Gray?
When you look at the collective, the 3, 4 games that we played on a whole, um, and you analyze Shamar Nicholson's performances, he had that one goal in the first game, and since then he has provided absolutely nothing throughout the tournament. And I've been saying this since the very first game. Shamar gets into positions to score because the all the chances that Shaman Nichols got in this tournament so far was provided to him by Corey Burke. If you think back, Corey Burke has been the provider, like Jesus and the five loaves of bread and fish, the entire tournament. And what's crazy about this is Shamar Nicholson didn't have to do much to get into those positions. We're not seeing Van Nistelrooy movement type from Shamar Nicholson to get into these positions. We're seeing wonderful work done by Corberg to get the ball to Shamar Nicholson to get those chances created. The reason why I would prefer Andre Gray over Shamar Nicholson is because of Andre Gray's movement. Now, if you think about the movement that we get off the ball from Andre Gray, coupled with the creativity that you get from Corey Burke on the right hand side, that would create, I think, a whole lot more chances. Let me take you back to the last game before the USA when Shaman Nicholson and Corey Burke came on when we were playing against Costa Rica. If you remember, Corey Burke went down on the flank, got past his defender, and played a ball inside. And Shamar Burke's run as a striker was a straight run, straight to the goal, hoping the ball to come to him. And because of that straight run, the ball came, and Shamar ran past the ball and went behind him. If you guys remember that play, a footballer striker with any sort of movement would make a lightning type strike of movement when you're going into the box, not only to get the defender off of you, but to create space to give yourself time to get to the ball. One straight movement restricts you so much so that after he made the movement, the ball was behind him. Now, had he hesitated, jockey to the right, to the left, and then move towards the back post, he probably would have gotten there to score the goal. And that's just me being critical of because of the type of training that I've been through in playing the game and knowing how and learning how to make runs, hesitant runs in the box as a striker with crosses coming in so you can give yourself time to get to the ball. Shaman Nicholson doesn't provide that for you. And the last thing that I would say with that is Shaman Nicholson is not the type of player to create chances for others. While Corey Burke will get chances and score them and create chances for others, we're not seeing that from Shamar. He gets the ball on the top of the box regardless of the position that he's in, and he's looking to score, not looking to play anyone else in or get anyone else involved. Which is why I think that some of the fine margins that we're thinking about in the football world is the players that complement each other. Shamar Nicholson and Corey Burke, the same height, same build, same everything. They complement each other. We need someone there that can complement Corey. They do not complement each other. We need someone there that can complement Corey Burke. So if we have someone that's running around him, looking to get those passes that he's more than willing to play, which is what Andre Gray will be, then you can see that partnership growing and building. So that's how I see it.
It's interesting that you have with some of the stuff that you've said, particularly about Nicholson not passing the ball to his other teammates or not passing the ball in a timely fashion to his teammates when needs be. What do you put that down to? Do you put that down to Nicholson being overly committed, and so he's just not thinking that this is a team's game? Sometimes stick to the basics. It doesn't necessarily always have to be fancy. And if that's the case, then I think another player who is guilty of that, unfortunately, is Junior Flemings, because Junior Flemings, I think, is very similar to Nicholson in the sense that he is overly committed. They are two committed players for their country, but they're just doing a little bit too much, which then complicates the team.
Overcommitted is one way to put it, and I understand that phraseology, but I think both of them are suffering from the same thing that Leon Bailey is suffering from, and is that yearn to perform so much for the country so badly. And Leon Bailey is a little bit different because we know Leon Bailey's quality. I think the difference between Shamar and Flemo with Leon Bailey is that Junior Flemings and Shamar it seems like they have this desire to prove to everyone that they're good enough to make the national team, because everybody else that's on the team should be arguably playing ahead of them. And there are others who are not on the team who should be on the team that's, should be ahead of them. Like, let's be honest, Jamal Lowe should be on this team and not Shamar Nicholson. I think Jamal Lowe, and there's also dude from West Ham, Mikel Antonio. If he's available, he would be on this team and he wouldn't be a Shamar Nicholson. Flemo would be the same. If everybody else who's available, who's in the diaspora, who's available and willing to play for the country is available, those guys wouldn't be. So they're trying their best to prove to the coaching staff and the rest of the world that they deserve to be there. And as such, they're forgetting the fact that this is a team sport. You know, a lot of people out there who enjoys the flair goals appreciates an assist just as much, and they're not remembering that. And I think that's where this desire comes from for wanting to do so much at this point in time, and then by wanting to do so much, they're doing absolutely little and nothing. Yeah, Michael Antonio is right around the corner, and if Michael Antonio is in the team, Shamar Nichols is not in the team. There's also a host of players who can play on the left hand side as well that are available. Um, and because those guys are not in the team but are on the cusp of being a part of the squad, these guys feel the need to be doing as much as they can. Um, Selfishly, I would say, to prove to the world that they're available and they're good enough. And at this point, it's not doing us any favors because, as I said, a goal is worship just as much as an assist in a team sport. This is not tennis. So that's why I think we're definitely doing too much, and it's to the detriment of the team.
I don't disagree with you there. I think with them, there's nothing wrong with like playing for the colors and playing for the badge. It's just about getting the right balance, knowing when to be selfish and knowing when not to be selfish. You can't go 90 plus minute when you're fixated on yourself, just focusing on you, because football is a team game. So you have to make that pass when necessary. And unfortunately, a player like Femin's quality, and at times, like you said, Nicholson as well, that they haven't made those crucial passes when necessary, aside from the fact that we've not been clinical up front. That's come back to like backfire on us. That's some firepower, some much needed firepower is definitely needed. So you've mentioned the likes of Mikel Antonio, and we can add Kamar Roof to that list as well. And definitely, I think that
Yep,
we do need to bring in Jamal Lowe, because from the wing, we're in trouble going into the World Cup qualifiers. We definitely need to address the wing, aside from the defense and also the midfield. I think maybe our weakest area comes in midfield and on the wings, and then followed by the firepower up top.
absolutely, 100%. And you mentioned the World Cup qualifiers, and we have so much issues going into the World Cup qualifiers that we haven't even spoken about yet. I rose this on my own YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago that if Ravel Morrison still hasn't gotten a visa to get into the United States, that means that every single World Cup qualifier we have in the United States, Ravel Morrison will not be able to play. That means the two that we might have against the USA, arguably the most important ones, in the USA, we won't be able to play. If there's any other country that is having COVID issues and might have to just schedule their games in the United States, Ravel Morrison will not be able to play. So where our midfield more than likely is going to look the way it is right now. And the JFF seems to not want to call seasoned midfielders, defensive midfielders like Anthony Grant, who's playing in England right now. They'd prefer to play Michael Hector as a defensive midfielder because he sits and supports the defense. Even though yesterday they played Speedy Williams, which did a great job, right? But if we have someone like a Michael Hector who runs about the defensive third, tackling up everything, passing the ball outside of the defensive third, then we wouldn't have to worry about making Hector sit down and put our sides to a disadvantage. So the onus is on the JFF to not only call up the right people to represent the country, but get a proper coach to represent the country because, boy, that's another conversation.
Just sticking on the topic of the midfield, because I think again, I believe that's one of our weakest areas. Personally, I feel like we need to get a goal scoring midfielder, somebody who's capable of providing those goals, because we did lack goals, and lacking goals is the reason why we exited the quarterfinals. So I think we need a goal scoring midfielder, someone who can score goals and create assists as well. I'm a little bit surprised that he left it so late to bring on McGee, because going back to what we were saying on the live stream at Ryan LFC, we needed to put the USA in a position where they could draw fouls. And I felt like, when you don't have Leon Bailey available due to injury, the next player that's on the bench that you should be bringing on in a timely manner surely has to be McGee.
Oh, absolutely. And it's baffling to me how you go a goal down and then you go for the youngest player in the team to come on. and to create something. Like, wasn't he not available throughout the 60, 45, 70 minutes in the game? You see what I'm saying? So what's confusing about this all is that you brought on McGee with the premise that he's gonna come on 80 something minutes in, we're trailing 1-0, and he's gonna come on and create something. That says to me, just like Gareth Southgate with the England team, that you had him only as a back pocket option to come on and create chances and do something, just like Gareth Southgate wanted those guys to come on and take penalties. You didn't see him as good enough to come in 70 minutes, 60 minutes to create something for you. Unless you thought the team that you put out there was the best and the only team that could get you a result, which absolutely makes no sense. You had Leon Bailey warming up. Yes, he's coming back from injury, but if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to play. You get what I'm saying? So it's confusing to me, the tactics and the approach they made. We definitely do need a goal scoring midfielder, and I do think if Nathan Redmond comes through on his promise of wanting to play for the country, that fits that area that Bobby Reid was playing. And if you follow me on this one, if Nathan Redmond comes in and sit right there behind the striker, Bobby Reid could then move to the right side of the attacking tree, which is where he plays for Fulham. That
But
frees up
Rome,
Bobby Reid.
sorry, Rome, continue.
Now I'm saying that would free up Bobby Reid to go and play his actual game. Bobby Reid is not a facilitator in the midfield. He's more of a winger slash, forward, which I think is best for him to play right there. So we'll see.
But before we get to the likes of Nathan Redmond, don't you think it's a good idea for us to utilize our current talent pools or players that are within our reach that we could easily call upon without any hassle? So someone like, in midfield, someone like Martin Davis or even Peter Lee. From what I've checked with Peter Lee, he's played for us 17 times at senior level, and he scored roughly 6 goals. So, yes, people can say that maybe it's down to game time at with Peter Lee's down to game time and moving from one club to another. But there are still players within that team that have done that have not played for their club for an extended length of time, that have had disruption at club level but are still being called upon.
So Martin Davis, Peter Lee. Martin Davis is playing, I think, currently now, and he's getting a decent amount of game time, which is commendable. And respect to Martin Davis anyway. They can do you doing your thing, fam. But here's my view on this. I've kind of graduated away from, and I mentioned this in the latest video that I made on this Jamaica performance overall on the YouTube channel, is that I feel like as a country we need to move away from this idea that we're going to use the platform of the Jamaica Football Federation as some sort of arm to the Salvation Army. And forgive me, it sounds kind of rough, but if players are not to a certain quality, if players are not up to a certain standard, then we should not be inviting them to play for the country unless it's some sort of friendly or, Caribbean Cup competition. We need to get to a point where the best available is playing for us. A lot of countries are doing it now. A lot of countries are fishing outside of their origins, outside of their borders to get the best to represent them. Because at the end of the day, your footballing program within your country should always be about bringing joy to your country. And also, let me know if you're hearing the background, because if I have to start over, I will. I
It's
can't
fine. It's
hear you.
fine. It's all natural.
Are you
It's
sure?
cool. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so a lot of countries are moving away from this whole idea of homegrown talents within your country. What if we're not England, Spain, Germany, countries like that who have the resources and the infrastructure to build talents from a very, very young age? We need to get to the point where we are fishing and getting the talents available to us in our diaspora because of parental lineage to represent the country. Because remember what football does for your country. It brings joy to your country. It brings popularity. And in the sense, in terms of Jamaica, the most important thing it does for us, it brings money in the form of tourism. People start, you go to the World Cup, you're on the World Cup stage, people start looking at you and bringing in more travels to the country, get more money. So we need to get victories. We need to get to the pinnacle of football. And the only way we're going to do that is to bring the best of the best into the country.
It's interesting that you've said that, and it's difficult to disagree. But before we can get to picking the best of the best, not many can argue with you on that because it does make a lot of sense. Surely there has to be some transparency because I don't know about you, but I'm not sure what qualifies or what process is taken for a player to receive a call up. Because we've seen in the past where players don't have a club, both in the past and in the present, where players don't have a club but they're still receiving a call up. Now you would look at a player like Martin Davis or Peter Lee that would say to themselves, how is so and so getting a call up when they don't have a club, and I am with a club and I'm playing game by game, I'm scoring goals, I'm getting the assist, but I'm not getting a call up. Like, what do you say to those players, like, regardless of how you might rate them quality wise?
And that's the perfect point that you bring up, and I'm glad you brought it up because I've been on the coaches desk. I've been chastised because I've been the number one advocate for Rafael Morrison not being a part of the team. Because I've been saying
Okay.
since day one, Rafael Morrison didn't have a club. He hasn't played for a club since November of last year. He just started playing for Derby. He should not be a part of the team. I should not see
Mm-hmm.
a list of 60 man on the squad and a 60-man squad and anything says unattached. Unattached is what you do when you're going to a track and field and you're training on your own and you go to a track meet, you
Mm-hmm.
put unattached next to your name. Not for footballers. And so I agree with you in the fact that people like Peter Lee and Martin sitting there thinking, what I have to do, what do I have to do to get into this team while I'm playing and others are not and they're on the squad. So I think if you revert back to what I'm suggesting in terms of making sure the best of the best, the highest quality is on there, this will not only remove those type of arguments because they know, hey, listen, that guy right there arguably is better than me and he's playing for a bigger club than I. So I have no excuses. I have to just raise my game, right? Or on the flip side of that, you will say to yourself, I need to be representing my country. That means I need to show them and the rest of the world that I am better than Anthony Grant, that I am better than Nathan Redman, that I am better than Jamal Lowe, that I am better than Kemar Roof, which means I'm going to play my heart out. And if I continue to do so, I won't be at Philadelphia Union anymore. I'll be kicking it at Brentford. I'll be kicking it at Newcastle. Because it's possible for you to leave the MLS and go and become a superstar in the Premier League. Almaran did it. And Almaran is just a workhorse more than anything else. So I think it's possible.
I'm glad that you made that reference when you said you spoke about it on coach's desk in relation to players who don't have a club but are still getting a call up. And the reason why I wanted us to touch on it is because I remember when Watson was being called up and Watson didn't have a club and people were raging about it. People were literally, you could see steam coming out their ears, right? They were angry, they were annoyed. But with Morrison, it's a completely different vibe. And I'm like, hang on a minute. Why are you so angry? Or why were you so angry when it was Watson that was getting called up when Watson didn't have a club, but you turned in you turned in a blind eye for Morrison? So, why is that? Why does that happen? Why are you willing to accept one but say no to the other?
Absolutely. And it all goes down to favoritism. Javon Watson wasn't everyone's, cup of tea at first. And he's old. He's almost like 40 years old, right? So a lot of people weren't too excited about that, which for me, I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't excited about um uh Rafael Morrison being in the team in the first place. Again, because it goes down to we have to have standards of what we want to be. Are we going to be that mediocre? Are we going to be that, you know, um, that team that just calls you up because it's your name makes you popular? Or are we going to be the team that's striving for something? We don't know the standards by which JFF selects people. We don't know if the coach has a say in who gets selected. But what we do know is that we look at a 60-man squad and we see people with unattached next to their names, which is unacceptable. There was no Kemar Roof. Where is Jamal Lowe? You know what I'm saying? These things are absolutely unacceptable, and the JFF is not being transparent. It has never been. and we don't know this the process by which they select people to come on board to play for us. So it's very confusing and very infuriating.
Yeah, the transparency pretty much doesn't exist. I'm not in favor of any player. It doesn't matter who you are, any player receiving a call up when you do not play for a club. I think it sends out the wrong message. I think it's something that you have to tread very carefully with, particularly when you have the youth coming up into the game. What type of example are you trying to say to them? What type of example are you trying to set for the next generation of players coming up? Are you trying to say that, or are you trying to tell them that it's okay if you're a big name, you'll always get selected for the national side, regardless if you have a club or not? Or are you trying to say to them that, work hard and you will be rewarded? At the moment, it's just like there is no transparency, there's no understanding. So everything is just very confusing.
100%. That's absolutely true. And if we continue like this, it's not going to get any better. So I think we definitely need management in the JFF. If we can't get rid of them, they need to change course. 100%. 100%.
Let's touch on the change of coaches, because I know that's something that we've touched on our live stream. First of all, are you in favor of changing coaches at this present moment in time? And also, if we do go ahead and follow through and change coaches, what benefit can you see coming from that?
I am 150% unequivocally in favor of us changing coaches. I said it before. One of the one of the videos I have on my channel that has the most views is the one that says Whitmore is clueless. The fourth official YouTube channel. Go look it up. You'll find it, guys. And I do think he's clueless because of the decisions and the choices that he makes in picking the team and in game management. But the reason why I think that we need to change courses in terms of coaching is because, let's be honest here, the players that we're trying to attract to come in and play for Jamaica is 100% not going to be coached well under Whitmore. These are players who have been seeing international professional coaches with them since they were kids, right? Players who know the game because they've been trained the game from day one. Whitmore highest level of coaching is a team in Jamaica. At Jamaica, we cannot literally we cannot seriously ask Whitmore to coach these men at a high level. Whitmore doesn't have the experience or the expertise. So that's basically setting him up for failure if you think about it. So I don't think that men like Andre Gray, you know, all those guys coming from overseas with the coaching and the professionalism that they're used to come into the Jamaica national team and sit there and hear Tapa Whitmore making the decisions that he's making and take him serious. If we're going to raise our level with the players that we have to raise the level with the coach that we have. So we have to get rid of him.
But don't you think that changing coaches at this moment in time with the qualifications for the World Cup just around the corner, don't you think that would add to the internal disruptions?
No, I don't. When you talk about, see, we just got finished with the Gold Cup, which means we have a month and change before we play another game in the whether it's a friendly or one of the World Cup qualifiers. One of the things is we could see a completely different team in September. So it won't change anything because the national teams are as such that you can see 111 this week and a totally other 11 the following game. There's never a set thing. Once we have, they have time to implement what the coaches want. Football is simple. It's very simple, and with that same 11, there's no one with that same squad that we have right now. I don't see who out there can come here and convince me that another coach would be able to win the league with that 11. Do you know anyone that plays for Canada right now? I can't name one. Yeah, Junior Oilet, but he's been around for a while. But the Canadian coach is bringing out a lot of proper football out of these guys because the coach knows what he's doing. If we have a team who has this much talent with someone who's willing and able to work with them and play some proper football, these man could be turning over the Gold Cup without a shadow of a doubt. So a new coach coming in within the next month or so will have time to look at the players available, select the team that he wants, work on a system, footballers are intelligent and football is simple. You get them into a training camp 3, 4 days before a match, and I guarantee you they can start playing the football that he wants. It's not necessary. You don't necessarily need a whole preseason or anything like that to go out and perform and win against Costa Rica. And so we can do it. It's just we need to get rid of him right now.
Who would be your replacement?
That's a tough one, isn't it? That's a tough one. I would definitely go fishing outside of the Caribbean and outside of the Americas. Um, I do think it's going to be hard to ask Paul Hall to take over the job full time. Um, it's gonna be a tough one, but I do think man like Dean Burton can do an excellent job, especially what he's doing right now. Um, it's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tough one, but I can't specifically cite anyone because all the managers that I know of, or the coaches that I know of, would not be taking the job at Jamaica right now, right?
Who are some of those names? Who's on your hit list?
So, I mean, we follow just basically the big names that you follow day in day out in terms of management. These guys are not going to be taking the Jamaica job. However, the only manager right now that I think, um, if we're able to get him and just for this period to get to the Gold Cup, because I like how he plays football, is the manager for Fulham. You know what I'm talking about?
They changed manager recently, didn't they? So it's not Scott
They
Parker
did
no more.
okay. The previous manager, Scott Parker.
Oh,
I
Scott.
love how Scott Parker plays football. Scott. So Fulham was unlucky at most parts, but you can tell towards the end of the season that they were playing some really good football. If we can somehow get Scott Parker to come and sit with the country for like, I don't know, a year and a half, get us to the World Cup, I think we can. Scott Parker is a really good and talented football coach. Wasn't a fan of him as a player with that tucked in shirt, but I think he can do the job.
Going back to your Scott Parker shout, I think he was going to take something quite stellar, a stellar offer for him to even consider coming over to us with all the internal madness and chaos that we've got going on. It's going to take something extraordinary to even get him to listen to us, let alone sign the paper and say that he'll take on the job.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. We don't have the resources, the infrastructure, the capabilities to get Scott Parker. Just like we won't have that type of infrastructure to get Mason Greenwood to play for the country. I'm just saying that's the type of coach that I would love to get here. I'm thinking the best, and I don't know as much as what the previous. I know there's a lot of like coaching going around in England, ex players and stuff, even ex Reggae Boyz. I heard Dean Burton is coaching. I don't know how good he is or if a
Yeah,
good job as he's
Burton
doing.
is at sorry to interrupt you. Burton is
Mhm.
at West Brom, but I was actually going to bring that to you. Do you think it's a sensible idea to recruit another ex-Reggae boy? I'm not doubting their capabilities. I'm just saying because they obviously have that relationship there already, isn't it better to get someone who's just new to the scenes, no emotional attachment, no friendship, just completely new and neutral?
What I do think, the new and neutral fact is it. That's a very good point. Getting someone who's new, someone who's not going to be biased, is absolutely a very good shot. However, I do think that what someone like Paul Hall or Dean Burton brings, that's different from what we currently have in Tapa, is that they're not in Jamaica in the weeds where there's a lot of bias and friendship going around, and you know a lot of you choosing someone because you favor them. You know what I mean? They will come in neutrally, whether you're an ex-player or you were just born in England or born in Spain or wherever. Brazil, like we went down for anything more in Brazil. They will come in with the idea that I'm going to be neutral. I'm going to pick the best team because I want to win. There's For far too long there have been too much rumors of Tapa picking a team, sticking with certain players because he wants to make sure that there's a Jamaican born player in the team. Well, that's not the point right now. The point is to make sure that we're winning. You fulfilling some wet dream that you have to make sure that someone from Seaview is on the team doesn't mean anything to me sitting here watching the game. You understand? I don't care about Tapa Whitmore fever dream. I want to see my team win. So I want someone who is coming who's going to be totally unbiased, willing to make the hard decisions, not just the right decisions, but the hard decisions, so that we can win the game. That's all that matters.
That's going to be quite interesting in the next
Yeah.
month or so. Personally, I can't see him go. I can't see him leaving just because the World Cup qualifications is around the corner and because of that relationship between Tapa and the Federation as well. And also, I don't trust them to get the right man in the job. They are so they're not proactive. I don't trust them to go out and recruit sensibly. So, we're in a position where it's just like, it kind of feels like we have to be careful what we wish for because we might get it and it might not be pretty. Because we know that,
Yeah.
they're very relaxed. Us, we're thinking of solutions. You're saying you want someone like Scotty Parker, and there'll be other people out there naming stellar names and applaudable names, but who are the JFF thinking of? Are the JFF even thinking of anyone? That's the scary thought.
You're right. And I mentioned Whitmore's fever dream, and this is somewhat of my type of wet dream as well, because if you think about it, these guys could not even pay the players when they went on the Qatar trip. They'll never find the money to pay a man like Scott Parker. You know, it's going to be somewhat of a, if we're going to get a better coach than Whitmore, it'll have to be a combination of us, the JFF, not us, the JFF making that strong decision of moving away from Tapa, and then negotiating with someone who sees this as a project, not someone who wants to not someone who wants the money, but someone who sees this as a project, who is willing to be a humanitarian coach to come in and take over the job and say, listen, I'm going to get you guys back to the World Cup. I'm going to put on my Bob Marley shirt and we are going to sing going on Qatar at the World Cup. That's what we need. Someone who's willing to take this on as a project for 1 to 2 years, get us to the World Cup, and then say, au revoir.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. I think this is probably a conversation for another video because there's so many managers out there that we can think of both in England and across the diaspora, so across Europe, across America, Canada, to name a few. So I think we'll
Yeah.
definitely pick this conversation up on another video. So let's revert back to last night's game, or let's look back at our Gold Cup appearance so far, what we did in the Gold Cup leading up to the quarterfinals. What do you make of the defense, and in particular the partnership between Liam Moore and Damian Lowe?
I love it. I rate the partnership. Liam Moore is a stellar footballer, isn't he? He's very, very good. And I think Damian Lowe right now after this competition has done very well for himself, and he should be getting a move to a bigger and better club. The Lowe was absolutely immense for everything that we needed. He was there. He was a soldier. What showed me a different part of Damian Lowe was when we started trailing against Costa Rica. Remember, Dylan Lowe stepped up in the midfield and started dictating the midfield from a defensive defender standpoint. And I can tell from there that Damian Lowe is not only is he a leader, but he's a soldier. Now, I want to bring you guys back to one particular point in that game when Damian Lowe took the ball in the center of defense, dribbled all the way through the midfield to the right hand side on the flank and putting two crosses in the box by beating 3 or 4 men. I will never forget it. Damian Lowe is a beast. I do think Damian Lowe he deserves and he should get a better move. There's not much more I can say about Liam Moore because the guy is just too good. He's very good, and I think he can be a stalwart in our defense for time to come. When it comes to the left and right back, I do think Omari Bell doesn't give us much going forward. And that's where Taxi Lawrence come in. I think Taxi Lawrence is one of the best left backs we've had in a while. He is very good going forward, very fast, always up and down the pitch. And the right hand side is where we have the problem because the coach doesn't seem to have any faith in maps anymore. Mariappa doesn't seem to be a part of the plan. I do think Mariappa would do well at right back, so much better than Alvas Powell, who was a broken record the entire competition. 30 minutes, 40 minutes in Alvas Power will bust. Can't run up and down anymore. And Fisher is just wild. Fisher is just wild. There's nothing I can do to explain what Fisher is doing. So I think Maps should have been the first choice right back. He was not. Um, and you can tell that Amari Bell is unfit. So the goalkeeper speaks for itself, obviously, but I definitely think the centre back pairing is probably one of the best we've put together in a while.
Just going back to what you said on Damian Lowe, just to echo your praise of Damian, aside from the football itself, I think it's important to credit him for his mentality. Because if you look back some years ago, Damian was getting pushed, shoved under the bus on many occasions, to the point where when the new recruits are coming into the team, a lot of people are saying, yes, no more Damian Lowe is going to be pushed out of the side. But he's pulled himself together. He's taken the criticism on the chin, and you're seeing some masterful performances from Damian Lowe. And I think he's actually surprised quite a few, in particular the people who were very critical of his previous performance over the years.
Yeah, 100%. And you can tell that he gets the same mentality from his dad. I remember growing up watching Andy Lowe playing, and you can tell that's like the genes run very. The man genes stronger. The man genes stronger than than an iron crowbar. Honestly, yeah, because no, Damian Lowe mentality, as you mentioned, is very, 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 very strong, and it takes a strong individual, a strong personality to come back and bounce back from that type of criticism and that type of vitriol. So, much respect to what he's doing so far. I would hope and wish that he gets a move, maybe to the Championship, to the Premier League, just to build his personal brand more. Because at this point in his career, and in all our footballers' career, the main thing is to move to a bigger, better championship, build your brand, build your personal brand, and start focusing on life after football. That's the wish for all of these professional players, not to just fade into the ethers, but to build a brand, become something. That's why I'm happy that we have more players moving out of Jamaica and going into different places. Build your brand, become something, and help the country. So looking forward to see Damien doing a lot more.
I think you're definitely right about that. It's time for Damien to move out of the Egyptian Premier League and possibly look elsewhere in Europe, if not go back to the MLS. I don't think that I think he's above the Egyptian Premier League. So just echoed what you have said. It's time for him to move on. So his agent has work to do, and he needs to act fast and put him in a league that could only aid his development. Looking back at Bell and Taxi, I actually think that's a fair bit of good rotation that we've got between the two. Taxi at the moment, I think it's understandable, his performance. It hasn't been what we know he's capable of. That doesn't mean that he's performed poorly, because we know he's had personal issues that he's had to deal with, right? So we're not going to be too critical of him of that, because he's a human being. So I think between Bell and Taxi, I think Taxi you will see the best of Taxi in the World Cup qualifications as well. Bell, I think Bell will up his game as well. So I'm not too worried about their position.
There's always a possibility that as years go past, Ethan Laird still shouting out Manchester United, the young man from Manchester United. There is a possibility that he might play for the country one of these days. So while Mason Greening is out of reach, Ethan Laird is a far better shout. He plays at right back, very skillful, decent young boy. So I'm going to continue to shout him out on every platform that I get until he hears my cry. He's going to buck up on the video one day on YouTube and come represent the big side.
So when he does accept the call up, then we have Rome to thank, right?
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I take my payment by subscriptions, people.
I think the suggestion of Ethan Pinnock and the possibility of moving Liam Moore over to right back, that just illustrates their versatility. The option is there if needs be, a bit like when we've seen Damian Lowe play in the center of the park. Rightfully he is a center back, but I think one of the benefits with our defenders at the moment, your likes of Law, Moore, and Pinnock, is that they are versatile, so you can play around and like move them in different areas if needs be, and that could only be a positive for us.
Yep, 100%. That's what, and that's the versatility in our players is there for us all to see. Which is why I keep saying this over and over. Which is why I think that a better coach. I'm sorry to keep going back, but a better coach can get so much more out of these players, fam. So much more out of these players. Crystal, I don't even know. I swear.
We're gonna do a video
Uh,
on Tapper because I know that you have so much to say. So when we look into our
yeah.
video around who should or who could potentially replace Tapper, we'll definitely give Tapper his airtime.
100%.
And we might even make that one a live stream as well, so that people can comment and like possibly join us on the panel. Just see how that one
Yep.
goes.
Yep.
Who
Loving
has
it.
been
Loving it.
your who has been your player of the tournament? That's probably a tough question, but you probably already have an answer for me.
My player of the tournament. It has to be none other than Damian Lowe. I couldn't pick anyone else but Damian Lowe. Um, as I said, that he stood out in the defense, even though Liam Moore has been very good. Damian Lowe stood out in the defense in terms of um his fight, his agility, his ability to adapt, go in the middle, go down on the flank. I remember he got injured, Soldier got up and came right back on. His ankle got twisted, looked like he got twisted out of socket, but got up, got some spray and came right back on and finished the game. I think Damian Lowe is without a doubt the player of the tournament for Jamaica. Write that down. And it's gonna be a good one for the future.
I don't think many can disagree with you. Like I've said, well done to Damian Lowe for his maturity. So we've got World Cup coming up. Who would be the one player that you would like to see receive a call up? I'm gonna say one because I want to put you on the spot here.
One player that I would like to see receive a call up for Jamaica, Mikel Antonio. Does that qualify? Because he's kind of like an automatic, isn't he?
No, it does. It
But
does
you never know.
qualify.
You never know. You're right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Mikel Antonio. I would love to see Mikel Antonio call up for the country to represent us. I do think Mikel Antonio is probably going to be the highest profile footballer that we've had to play for the country. Um, I wouldn't even put Leon Bailey in that regard, even though Leon Bailey plays for Bayern Leverkusen. We already know that Mikel Antonio playing for West Ham in the Premier League is probably going to be the highest profile player we've had since Ricardo Fuller, maybe. So looking forward, 100% looking forward to seeing him get called up for the World Cup qualifiers, leading us into the World Cup, leading goal scorer going into the World Cup.
I think getting call up is one thing. I don't doubt that we will give him a call up. It's just whether or not his club allows him to leave. Because let's remind ourselves that this season West Ham have the Europa League competition to look forward to, so they will have a heavy schedule. And unfortunately, Mikel has approached that time in his career, or that period in his career, where he is picking up injuries left, right, and center. So will West Ham want to risk sending Mikel Antonio to possibly help us qualify for the World Cup, or will they say, no, we actually need you to stay here and fight for a potential top 4 finish or a potential top 6 finish in the Premier League?
I mean, unless the West Ham are kidding themselves, West Ham should know that they're never going to win the Champions League. West Ham should also know that last year was more a chance than anything else that they got to that far. Will West Ham have a repeat of what they did last year? I don't know, but I do think it comes all the way down to the player himself as to whether or not they make the decision. And I understand it's going to be a difficult decision to make because again, he has to travel on the other side across the Pacific to get to where we're playing if we're playing over here, and chances are we will be. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult decision. It's just it depends on what West Ham wants, what Mikel Antonio wants. If he really wants to come over here and play, he will. 4 or 5 games. I mean, in when they take breaks for international tournaments, right? International tournaments are typically 2 weeks with 3 or 4 games. If he comes over and play the first 2 games and then leaves, it gives him time to recuperate. So there's always workarounds in all these things. Depending on how badly all sides want it, we can have him come play the important games. We don't need him against Costa Rica, but we need him against the USA. So that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting one with Mikel. And the reason why I brought up the possibility of West Ham not allowing him to link up with the Reggae Boyz, particularly at the early stage of the World Cup qualifiers. I remember reading a newspaper article some months back. The editor of the newspaper that I write for sent me the heading from a newspaper, and basically the heading said David Moyes, and quote, "Don't let Reggae Boyz take the mick." So read so that kind of tells you how West Ham and how Moyes view the Reggae Boyz. I think from that article he was saying, no disrespect to the Reggae Boyz, but he would rather if Mikel played for England, which was a bit of a strange comment to make.
Yeah, isn't that taking the mick? Isn't that some sort of phrase over there in England? The little double entendre there for you, isn't it? Don't let Reggae Boyz take the mick, which he's probably talking about Mikel Antonio. Okay, all right. But I mean, we know that Mikel Antonio was not going to play for England from what 4 or 5 years ago. They weren't going to call him up. They tried calling him up and tried to give him that little "don't go play for anyone else." But I think for a player of Mikel Antonio's stature, he wants to represent. He wants to play international football. If the opportunity arises that he could play for the World Cup, let's not forget how important it is playing for a World Cup for these footballers. You play your entire career, and Ryan Giggs never played in the World Cup, and he'll be remembered continuously for not ever playing for in the World Cup, right? A lot of players look forward to those kind of competitions representing their country. So again, it all comes down to what Mikel Antonio wants. If he wants it that badly, he'll go. I mean, we have a stronger chance of making it to the World Cup with Mikel Antonio. And if he thinks for a second that I will be here backing him, if he does not play in the qualifiers and expect us to call him up after our qualify for World Cup, we have our next guest coming. At that time, I'm going to take the mic.
All the best of that. I hope for your sake that it comes through, and hopefully when you do show up at Old Trafford, it's not raining, because you know what happens when it's raining at Old Trafford. Don't need to tell you about that. So hopefully we show up and it's a beautiful hot summer's day.
Either way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Rome,
the wheel win, lose, that draw.
Rome, where can people find you on social media?
All right, people. You can YouTube, the Fourth Official. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe on it. You can also find me on Twitter, officially Rome, Instagram, Fourth Official, Fourth_official. You can find me there as well. The content will always be about football, heavy bias towards Manchester United, and of course Reggae Boyz. So yeah, again, Twitter, officially Rome, Instagram, Fourth Official, Fourth_official, and on YouTube, the Fourth Official. Thank you very much.
People, please do check him out on Instagram, across all social media. He's a pretty sound guy, despite the fact that he supports Manchester United. So please subscribe to his YouTube channel, check him out on Twitter as well, and give him a follow, and keep an eye on his content, because this season he's going to give you some unique contents which will be very informative and engaging. So please give him a follow and subscribe to his channel. Rome, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on my platform. Finally, even though you're a Manchester United fan, you're actually a decent guy. I don't even know how that makes sense, but somehow it
Yeah.
does. Uh,
Well, yeah, the Lord work in mysterious ways. Look what he did to you.
like I said, it's been a pleasure having you on my platform, and I'm sure we're gonna do this many, many times throughout the pending season with numerous conversations around football. I trust that it won't just be about Arsenal and Manchester United, because there are other clubs there to talk about. So I know that we're gonna put through some quality content. So thank you again for stopping by and helping me to review last night's match.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on. And it's always great to talk like-minded things with like-minded people. So yeah, we love the game, and you can tell that you have a very big drive for the game and a love for it, and I appreciate that. And I look forward to us having conversations throughout the season. Again, not only about our clubs, but definitely about other clubs, and celebrating wins, losses, and mostly me laughing at you for the Arsenal losing. So yeah.
I keep telling people that Arsenal and Manchester United are like cousins that pretend that they hate each other, but deep down they've got
Yeah,
love for each other. So everything
yeah,
that you say, I'm just gonna take it on the chin. I'm gonna be like, he don't really mean that. He's just Manchester United fan. That's just what they're like. So I
and you know
expect this
what?
type of banter from you.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Because I last season when Arsenal was going through that slump when you're like 16, I was genuinely sad. While I was laughing outside, I was because it's sad to see Arsenal struggling like that, knowing where you're coming from. I grew up watching Manchester United and Arsenal fighting for the titles back to back to back, and I just didn't want them to see. Even though it was fun laughing at them losing, I didn't want them to see them that far. So yeah, 100%. You're my little cousin that I don't like, but I really love you. So bless up yourself.
I'll echo that feeling is very, very mutual. And actually, I'm gonna tap on continue what you've pick up on what you've actually said in relation to Arsenal season last season, and the fact that we were literally looking at relegation bang in the eye. I think for me it was the same when you guys had David Moyes, where David was coming out and like breaking numerous records. At one point I
Yeah,
was like, I actually do feel bad, like, because like you said, we grew up being rivals of each other, and the thought of Manchester
yeah,
United getting relegated, I was just like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, I want you in the
exactly.
same league as me, so I can laugh at you, even if you're doing better than me. If you lose one match, I want to be able to call you up and laugh at you, because we grew up
Exactly.
like harassing each other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. Let it live. Long let it live. Okay, let the banter remain.
I echo that with passion. So yeah, again, guys, please check out Rome's channel. Do subscribe and give him a follow when you can. And thank you for sitting down and watching us review last night's defeat. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we will take it on the chin and move on.